What's good, Commanders fans? The Commanders have agreed to terms with wide receiver Olamide Zacchaeus. I know Drake May just had his pro day. I've been out all day with the fam, man, because it's spring break, so I got to spend as much time as I can with the kids. Yesterday, I did not get a chance to really watch Jaden Daniels' pro day either. I did see he wore the hoodie with his teammates' name on the back. I did see that he had a basketball. He was kind of playing around with a basketball on the sidelines a little bit, kind of on the field. And then he dapped up Adam Peters, of course, talked to the Washington Commanders staff. There was that rumor that Adam Peters, that Jaden Daniels, that was like a radio rumor. So I'm not even going to say what the rumor is, but that was good to see him dap up Adam Peters. As far as throwing, I heard he did a pretty good job. Some people had some mixed reviews. He missed four throws out of 40. Something like that. Somebody was saying that he was off, that receivers had to come back to the ball or twist and contort to get to the football, and that's not a good thing. So, but like I said, I don't take much stock in these pro days. We've seen Jamarcus Russell throw the ball basically on his knees. Kyle Bowler throw the football on his knees, like all the way down the field. Zach Wilson wowed everybody with like a crazy pass down the field. So these pro days, I don't really care about them, to be honest with you. I don't take much stock in the pro days like a lot of people do. Some people do. And some people, when they evaluate, they just get wow and awed on pro days, they draft the wrong guy. You know, just because somebody did well in, what does B-Miss say, t-shirt and panties, or basically like in a layup line kind of drill in basketball, just going out there dunking the ball, dunking line, and just making jumpers, wide open dunks, wide open mid-range jumpers, wide open three-pointers. Like, I'm just not impressed with that stuff. I mean, it's all good and dandy, you know, to be impressed by the combine and stuff like that and just pro days and whatnot. If you want to just base a lot of it on a pro day, I just don't believe in that evaluation. But seeing them as a person on the field, it ties into that too. So, but that's just my take on the pro day. I mean, somebody can have a great pro day and play really well in the NFL too. You never know. They could have a great pro day. I saw Joe Milton, the quarterback for Tennessee. He was throwing the ball down there. Everybody's going crazy and goo gaga over him because he can throw the ball down the field. But, you know, he had an iffy career, head up and down, inconsistent career. Not a bad career, but an inconsistent career. But the pro day is kind of risen, had his stock rise up a little bit. I wanted to watch Michael Penix's pro day. I haven't gotten a chance to watch that either. Like I said, Drake May's pro day is going on right now. So, you know, you take the information with whatever you take and however you want to evaluate a quarterback. So, I mean, it's up to you guys to do that, of course. And Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and those guys. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, let's talk about Olamide Zaccheaus. Of course, he was on the Eagles last year. He was on the Falcons. When we beat the Falcons last year in 2022, when Deron Payne had the left hand up, tip pass, couldn't afford to get the interception. Olamide Zaccheaus had a really big catch on that drive. I remember that. He had a good game against us. He had, in that game, I'm pull it up real quick. In that game, he had, where the freak is it at? I just had it up here too, but it just went away. Stuff like that always happens on my computer. He had 8 catches for 91 yards. That was his best game all season. That was against the Command. That was against us where we beat them 19-13. He had 8 catches for 91 yards. Marcus Mariota threw him a pass where he got them in field goal range. Then they kept going down the field. They got in touchdown range, basically, in the red zone. And they were going to score, but we made a big play. Deron Payne made a huge play to make a stop and force an incompletion, or that converted into the tip pass. Ended up being an interception. But make a long story short, that's where I remember Olamide Zaccheaus, of course. I remember him last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where he had a big catch. And then on the Eagles, he had a big touchdown catch against the Bills, where that was his only catch of the game. It was a 29-yard catch in the back of the end zone from Jalen Hurts. So he went to the University of Virginia. He had a really good career at University of Virginia. He went to the Eagles Pro Day, actually, as well, when he was trying to go to the NFL. Look at his college numbers. I mean, 2018, 93 catches for 1,058 yards. 2017, 85 catches for 895 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had 9 touchdowns in 2018 as well. Like he had some really, really good production at the University of Virginia. So somewhat of a local guy. He's versatile. Wide receiver, slot receiver, can play outside, can be somewhat of a gadget player as well. But if you look at his numbers, like the 40 and different things like that, he didn't really wow you with the 40. I think he ran like a 4.49, which is fine, but it's not like 4.3, 4.39, 4.34, kind of like Terry McLaurin running a 4.3. Curtis Samuel, when he was here, of course, you know, and coming out of college, he ran a 4.3. Antonio Gibson, who's gone now, he ran a 4.3. That's all we talked. That's a lot that we talked about with our receiver group, is just how fast they were. Now, Olamide Zaccheaus, He is pretty fast too, but he's not like a burner. 5'8", 190 pounds, just solid all around kind of guy, to be honest. But I'm not gonna say nothing wows you, but yeah, 4.49 40-yard dash. They're comparing Quez Watkins on the Eagles, but he's more of like a third guy, fourth receiver on the team. And of course, one of our weaknesses at the wide receiver spot is we don't have a big body guy. So Adam Peters didn't go out there and sign a big body guy. Maybe that's one of the questionable things I would say about this signing. But maybe he can go out and get Xavier Leggett from South Carolina in the third round or second round or something like that. We'll see if he does that, trying to get a big body receiver. But I have no problem with the signing. We'll see what we do in the draft. Of course, kind of going from Curtis Samuel to Olamide. If he is going to be our third receiver, De'Ami Brown's still on the roster too. But if Olamide is going to be our third guy, it is somewhat of a downgrade, to be honest. But if you look at him on the Falcons, he put up some big numbers, man. He had some big games with the Falcons. He really did. With Matt Ryan, he was like the number 2 guy for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan targeted him a good amount with the Falcons. You look at his numbers with the Falcons in 2021, 31 catches for 406 yards. And then each year he got better. In 2022, he had 40 catches for 533 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a 93-yard catch his rookie season, which was like one of the best plays of the season. But he only had the whole season. He had 3 catches for 115 yards. 2022, he had 17 games and 13 starts. So he had more of a prolific role in 2022, 2021, 17 games and 8 starts. 2020, 11 games and 2 starts. And then 2023 with the Eagles, 17 games and 1 start. But when you have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, who's okay, he's like a mid-tier backup kind of guy. But when you have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, you're just going to be behind those guys. So I'm not going to make any excuses for him. But when he played with the Falcons, man, he had some productive seasons, man. I think he's not a bad number 4, number 5 kind of guy on the roster. We still got Mitchell Tinsley on the roster too. But just looking at some of his PFF numbers from last year and how he stacked up. And this is actually from 2022. This right here. I'll go with this one. So plays above 20-plus yards in 2022. He had 11 targets. He ranked number 60 among all wide receivers. 4 catches for 114 yards of catches above 20-plus yards, an 18% target rate, which was 63rd among all wide receivers per PFF. He had a 5.1 yak yards after catch reception. That was number 15 overall, which is really darn good to be number 15 overall in all wide receivers. 5.1 yak yards after catch. That's pretty darn good. He's the guy that can break tackles. Like, if you look at the game against us in 2019 or 2022, where he had that big catch, he broke a couple tackles, and he was elusive in that game. Yards per route run, he was 47th overall in 2022 per PFF, which is 1.47 yards per route run, which is pretty darn good as well. So, yeah, I mean, he had a couple good games, man. He had some good games. And he's a special teams guy. He had a special teams touchdown with the Falcons where it was an onside kick. I'm not going to say it was a garbage time touchdown, but, the 49ers were throwing the ball back and forth, trying to do laterals on the last play of the game. They missed the lateral, and Olamide Zacchaeus ended up picking up the football and running in for a touchdown. So, someone of a special teams guy. But I'm impressed with what he did in college. I know it's different, of course, from the NFL, but, man, he was super, super productive in college. He did have a game in week 4 where he had 8 catches for 86 yards for the Falcons in the 2020 season. So there was a game where Matt Ryan just kept targeting him over and over and over again. And that shows that the quarterback had trusted him as well. That season, he only had 20 catches for 274 yards, but that one particular game, he had 8 catches. So showing that he can be a reliable guy. The 2021 season, highest passer rating generated when targeted on play action passes last season. Olamide Zaccheaus was number 2 with 156.6. DK Metcalf was number 1 as well. So those are some numbers from Olamide Zaccheaus right there. 23 missed tackles forced after the catch in college in one season. So at the University of Virginia, man, he had a couple of good games and put up some really, really, really big numbers. But looking at his draft thing, it's kind of funny. Like he ran track in college as well. I'm sorry, in high school he ran track. Now, looking at some of his weaknesses, looking at his draft profile, like NFL draft profile, they're usually really nice to guys. They don't really say like a lot of mean things about players and stuff like that. This one they actually were kind of going in. They said weakness, pass catching technique is gross. Below average hand-eye coordination, catches the back of the football, tries to run before he secures it. Catch radius is small, lack of length impedes deep opportunities, has issues dealing with disruptive length, creates big plays but gives them away. Doesn't always play to his speed and will coast with his routes. So that is the write-up is kind of inaccurate because he made a big play against Tampa, made a big play against the Bills, made a big play against us. He's made some big plays in his career. Had the 93-yard catch, so he's kind of proved this wrong a little bit. But the write-up was kind of correct too, saying that he's an average backup or a special teamer. He has kind of been somewhat of a just average backup, mid-tier guy, but he's made himself somewhat of a name in the league. 2 solid years with the Falcons. The Eagles kind of regressed. Jalen Hurts regressed, and then you're behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But here, let's talk about his role here. He's a guy that, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make the roster. I mean, you can look at the roster and be like this. Terry, Jahan, Diami might not make it, actually. Diami, if he doesn't make it, it could be Terry, Jahan, Diami, let's say Xavier Leggett, that's 4. Mitchell Tinsley, that's 5. No, never mind, he's going to make it. It's really between him and Diami. That's really it. And Mitchell Tinsley. They're going to be battling for spots on this roster, but I was going to say that he might not make the roster, but he probably will make the roster. And this is like one of the few offensive signings that we made that has been a skill position. It's really just been Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, and that's really it for as far as the skill position other than the offensive line. Other than that, I don't think we really signed a lot of guys. Marcus Mariota on offense, but he's not a skill position. He's more of the quarterback position. So I'm intrigued to see what they do in the draft. I'm trying to think if there's any other receivers that they could have signed. Maybe Hollywood Brown, but I guess they just didn't want to break the bank because he has familiarity with Cliff Kingsbury. I would have loved that to have Terry, Hollywood, and John. That would have been a great trio right there. I would have liked that a lot. Just a lot of speed there and guys that can get open. But Olamide, he provides yak, and he's a guy that's just been there in the league. He can be a mentor to some of the young guys, too. So 5'8", 188 pounds. You guys let me know what you guys think about this signing. How's the Commanders? Peace.